What is going on? Welcome to the Speed Limit 155 podcast. We are going to wait to see if Clover shows up. Road tripping from Texas to Vegas for SHOT. We are streaming live on both of our main channels. Well, our main channel, Speed Limit 155 is not necessarily a main channel. It's one of our alt channels. If you guys are over on the Ghost Tactical channel, if you like car stuff, then we're going to start doing a lot more car stuff over on the Speed Limit 155 channel. Go check that out. Subscribe to that channel if you'd like. If you are watching this on the Speed Limit 155 channel, and if you like guns and all of that, then go check out our main channel, Ghost Tactical, and maybe you'll like some of the stuff over there. Basically, what we're going to talk about tonight is first of all, you guys must be really, really bored if you're out there live. Thank you to everyone that's live out there in the chat. Let us know what some of your best road trips have been. We'll probably go into road trips a little bit about what we've enjoyed, and if Clover doesn't show up, then it will be a different show than we thought it would be. It is what it is. Everyone's talking about how cold it is. Yeah, it's cold as shit here. Right now it is 9 degrees, wind chill of -4. Had snow yesterday, probably about, 5-6 inches of snow. Not a ton of snow, but definitely covers everything. The roads are at least by my house up here in the mountains are definitely snowed over, if you will. And tomorrow I think the high is going to be maybe 18. So I think Wednesday is supposed to get he's on his way to the man cave, that guy's wife said. I should get our Menthy in here because we want to find out the true story of the road trip from Texas to Vegas. We should get her in here because we all know Clover is a little bit of a diva, and he is probably going to sit in the car and ride while she does a lot of the driving. I think it's about a 20-hour drive-ish or so. But yeah, it's cold as hell. Hopefully we'll talk about roads and how he's prepping for weather and all of that stuff. But yeah, I think we're going to talk a little bit about road tripping. Obviously, there'll be more of Clover's road trip because I fly to Vegas for SHOT. If you're listening to this in the podcast form and all of that, and you're a car person and you're not necessarily up to what we say SHOT show, it's the shooting. It's the guns. Well, it stands for Shooting, Hunting, Outdoor Trade Show, SHOT Show. And it is basically the largest industry event for the gun industry in the world. And it's held every year in January in Vegas. And we've been going for it should be our 7th year, but 2021 was canceled because of the cough. So Ghost is a diva. I'm a diva too. I mean, I think everyone that knows me personally knows that I'm a little bit of a diva. No, I try not to be a diva. I think that I'm arrogant. I have an ego, but I would not. I don't know. Arminthia knows me pretty well. Arminthia, am I a diva? I don't know. Yeah, he's just sent me a text. And she says that this year's trips will be interesting. Yeah, so basically, Clover and his wife drive to Vegas every year for SHOT. They enjoy the road. I love road tripping, but that's a long ass drive where I can get on a plane, be there in 3 hours. I'm good to go. But they enjoy. They usually. We'll talk a little bit about it here. Real quick before I do it, I want to hear from everybody out here. What's the longest road trip that you guys have taken without staying overnight somewhere? Like, I mean, you can stop and all of that stuff, but not staying at a hotel or staying somewhere. What is hey, what's up, Mark? What is Arminthia says Clover's a diva over Ghost. Well, 100%, but she says she's the easiest of the group. So that's not saying a lot, right? I mean, being the easiest going of the three, that's not saying a whole lot. You probably are. But so out there, what's the longest road trip you guys have taken hour-wise, without stopping overnight? Kind of a straight through. Obviously you might have multiple drivers and all of that, and all of that. But yeah. Let me know. Sykes says he's driven to every lower 45 states but Washington and Oregon. That's interesting. Um, let's see here. Wes is out there saying his two sons are planning a 48 state road trip this summer after his second one graduates. 6 weeks over 10,000 miles. They're excited. Man, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that would be fun as hell, to be honest with you. Hey, let's bring Clover in. What up, homie? Oh, you're muted. Oh, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but you're muted. Come on in when you want to. Let's see. 22 hours from Millsert Duo. Sykes says 28 hours. Jackson, Mississippi to Long Island, New York. Oh, God, that's got to be dreadful. G23 says I drove for 3.5 days, drove 30 straight hours without sleeping. By yourself, G23, or is that with another driver with you? That would suck. Wes says his wife. Oh, Glover dropped out. Maybe a little issue. Wife said his wife. Oh, he and his wife have encouraged him to do it, but now when they can, that'd be great. Mark says longest road trip my daughter and I did Route 66 from Chicago to Phoenix, but we camped and we did it on motorcycles. And she's 7 years old and 1,000. I don't know, 1,000. So it sure felt like, yeah, I bet it did. I bet you that was a pretty fun experience. I bet you that's an experience, Mark, that you're never ever gonna get back. Let's bring Clover back in, see if he's working or not. Still, maybe having issues, maybe with microphone or something. I don't know. G23 said,
right.
"Oh, there you are."
It wasn't my microphone. It's sometimes when I log in,
yeah,
my speakers, it's not going to my headset. So I don't want to unmute because there's going to be crazy feedback if I unmute.
Yeah, sure. No, I get
and
it.
I don't know why it doesn't. It's weird. I don't know why it doesn't switch over, and I actually got to go through Windows and switch it over instead of StreamYard. It's weird.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah, we're talking about road trips. And I know that you guys are getting ready to take a road trip to Vegas, and we're kind of going through the chat and talking about maybe longest road trips, hour wise, like without sleeping overnight somewhere. You don't have to like continuously drive. You can stop and take breaks and all that stuff. One thing that's really cool is Wes said that his two sons are planning a 48 state road trip this summer after his second one graduates. 6 weeks over 10,000 miles. That's going to be something that probably they'll take memories on for the rest of their lives. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah. I've taken a lot of road trips, but I've never set out to do something like that. I guess I never had time really. I would love to take 6 weeks and just travel, but I don't know. I think my wife and I would kill each other eventually. She'd probably kill me, let's be honest. And then Wes said, who was it, Wes? Or was it someone? I can't remember. Someone said that they, Mark out there said they did, he and his daughter, who was 7 at the time, on the back of a bike, did their Route 66 from Chicago to Phoenix, but they camped out and all that. But once again, that's memories right there, man. That's awesome. I don't know if I'd do it on a bike or not, but wow, that'd be crazy. Is SHOT Show, the drive to SHOT and all that, is that the longest, basically road trip that you and Armintia have taken? Because she said something like 29 hours earlier, and I don't know if that was that the year that y'all drove like past Vegas into California and then back to Vegas or something?
Yeah, that might have been the one where there was a wreck that held up traffic for a while and some other things. So that could have been. Yeah, it could have been something like that. Yeah, that sounds about right, probably. Now I've drove more than that. I went like without sleeping. Let's just say.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
My drive from here to Phoenix, and what was it, 2019 maybe? Was about 36, 38 hours. I mean, it was brutal. It was brutal.
How did it take you that long?
Because I met someone in San Antonio and picked them up, and we got 2 hours probably
I
west
forgot about
of
that and had
San
to drive back.
Antonio,
I
and
forgot
his
about
wife
that.
freaked out because he was going, and I'm not going to mention any names, but his
I
wife called and freaked out because he was
totally.
going, and he basically conned me into turning around and driving 2 hours back to San Antonio, and then I had to go make up the 2 hours, and then that's a long way. The only way I went that route was because it was longer anyway, was because of him. So
Yeah.
there I was driving that southern route,
I
and
totally forgot about
yeah.
that. Yeah, I would have told him, here's 20 bucks, catch a bus back or something.
We were 2 hours west of San Antonio on 10. Where are you going to catch a bus?
I don't know. Thumb one down,
Yeah, like because there's once you get out of San Antonio headed west, they ain't nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, it's nothing.
No, I get it. So let's talk road trip. I know that you've guys, it's about a what? Basically, you've got it down to about a 20-21 hour drive. Is that about right?
If all goes well, yeah, somewhere in that 20, definitely less than 22 range, and
Yeah.
that's if everything it goes well. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Wes said
about
growing up.
19, I think, if you put it into the
Yeah, but
map
that's
or
that's just
whatever.
driving straight through with no
Yeah.
stopping and all that stuff. And obviously, you guys got to stop for food and gas and smoke breaks
Oh yeah.
and sometimes you'll. Now I know that you guys typically when you go out to shot, pretty much aside from the normal stops, you guys drive pretty much straight through.
Oh
Now
yeah.
coming back, you take a few extra days and you might stop at Tombstone or different places along the way coming back. But going out there, is it pretty much a straight shot?
hmm Yeah, going out is one of those things that you're excited to get out there and get the shot for that week, and so there's something about that excitement that kind of keeps you going anyway. You know.
Hmm. Yeah,
And then after being in Vegas for an entire freaking week and, little sleep and you're wore out and coming back, you need that, couple of stops, stay the night, a couple of nights,
yeah.
take a
You're
cat of
definitely
eat,
not
come back.
running on adrenaline like you
Yeah,
are when you go out to
you're
Vegas.
not like once shots over, basically, like once the show's over. And I know you've never stayed. One of these days, hopefully, you'll get to stay the entire week and you'll see what I'm kind of talking about. But
Yeah,
when the show closes, because the show floor closes a little early on Friday, and
yeah,
once you start, you get that vibe of shot is over. And like I said, you've
yeah.
never experienced that because you've never stayed for the whole thing.
No, my flight usually leaves that
Yeah,
afternoon, so I
yeah.
have to leave shot like usually around lunchtime
But
to get out to the airport.
once you get the lights flickering and people tearing down booths and
Yeah.
it sinks in that this week's over, and so there's something about it that just your body and your attitude and everything they start shutting down. Yeah, it's like, yep, it's over. They're all leaving and shutting down. We're gonna do too. And it's like, oh no, we still got we're a long way from home. We can't,
Oh yeah.
but it's okay.
Absolutely. Wes says his most memorable trip was a trip to Baja in an old school bus on a mission trip with a youth group. That's pretty awesome. It wasn't one that I drove. I'll say one of my how do I put this? This is gonna sound really bad. One of my most memorable road trips, a bunch of us when we were juniors in high school. Um, there was a church in town that was going to take a bunch of the youth to Angel Fire, New Mexico to go skiing for spring break. And it was a way to kind of attract new families and kids and all that to that church. And so a bunch of us, there's probably 100 of us that went. And they rented Greyhound buses and all of that. And let's just say that we had a lot of fun on that bus to New Mexico and back from Dallas. Probably stuff that the church did not want to know about, but we had a really good time on that bus. That was a great road trip. Although none of us drove, it was a bus, but we had a great time. It was boys and girls, and you can only imagine all of the shenanigans that we got into. Great question before we get going on the road trip to Vegas, Clove. Mark, that's a great question. Ghost Clover, have a question for you guys. Might find interesting. What vehicles, what emergency equipment, like jacks, food, water, impact guns, etc., And he says, "What do you take on a long road trip?" And we can kind of start out the trip to Vegas by saying, kind of taking this question in stride and say, aside from the 17 suitcases that you and Arminthia usually travel with, because they bring the house with them. Let's just be honest.
Coming back with half of the shot show floor.
This is true too. This is true too. What kind of like the emergency kind of stuff do you typically take with you on that trip? Do you plan for just in case stuff happens?
No, we really don't. And I'll explain why. Obviously I take my my medic, med kit. You never know, and
Yeah.
I've got the tourniquets, and I've got that sort of stuff, but it's not anything specific for a road trip. And I'll tell you why. 2019 super reliable vehicle. Before we got this, we rented, of course, vehicles and AAA. So that's the emergency plans for
Yeah.
us, basically,
Right. Yeah.
is, reliable vehicle, well maintained. There's a reason it goes to, it just went to Kia, last month. So there's a reason it goes to Kia and gets serviced. That way it gets plugged into the computer. They keep up with routine maintenance. They can foresee any potential issues on the horizon. They
Yeah.
can address any recalls. They can make sure that we're good to go. And then, AAA should something go south. So, yeah, the taking wrenches and kind of like working on your alternator
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Tulsa.
Tulsa.
You'd be
Yeah.
screwed at this point because we don't road trip. I don't road trip in the truck with the toolbox with all the tools and all the stuff
Hmm.
anymore. So,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be screwed, but we might have to, hop a trip to AutoZone or somewhere and buy some
Yeah.
tools. But
Yeah.
is all I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, it's one of them things where, um, out of necessity, a lot of times, do you do things yourself? Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not that I can't work on a vehicle, and that's not that I have. I mean, I've changed the CV axle and the wheel bearing on a Dodge Caravan in a Love's parking lot before.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I know that
so
you say you take the Kia to the dealership to get it done, but I know there's stuff that you do, maybe changing brakes here and there,
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah. I
stuff like that that you do that
yeah, yeah.
saves money a little bit and time as well.
Well, I mean, I don't have as many tools as when I was a mechanic, but I've
Right.
got some tools, and so there's some things that, of course, I can do. Changing, the spark plugs, for example. Kia wanted whatever it was, nearly $500 or something for that, and there's
Yeah.
literally, I don't even think it's two bolts. I think it's two clips, and this plastic cover comes off, and then there's a bolt that holds each coil pack in, and then the plugs, and they're right there on top. There's four of them. Ain't paying $500 for that. You know what I mean?
I
Uh,
hear you.
but I do let Kia do some things like, brake system maintenance, like the flush and
Yeah.
fills, and cooling system and little things like that. Alignments,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh
then
yeah.
basically like the oil and the filter change and things like that. And I pay
But
them for
more
certain
importantly,
things.
you take that to Kia to kind of see what codes are out there just
Well,
in case,
and that's
so
the reason.
you don't
Yeah, yeah,
leave
yeah.
with something that's you don't know what's going on.
So the dealership is really awesome. I mean, first of all, they've got awesome. We had an issue where the service manager quit when we originally started taking it to that dealership. That service manager quit. We had a couple of rough goes there for a little while until we got lined up with another service manager that I let him know.
Yeah.
Finally, I'm like, look, bro, we need somebody to take care of us. I drive over an hour to this dealership and sit around and wait and spend my money with you guys, um, because I expect to be taken care of, right?
Yeah.
And here's what I require. And I know y'all are capable of doing this, blah, blah, blah. So one of the reasons I don't mind spending a little money with them, and we spend, normally what would be a $60, maybe $70 trip for oil and filter, ends up usually being around $300 every time we take it in,
Yeah.
for some kind of a routine maintenance, something. And one of the reasons I don't mind is because they do keep track of everything. I get text and email notifications
Mm-hmm.
all the
Mm-hmm.
time that says, "Hey, you need to check your mileage. You may be getting close to being due for this service or that service," right? And it may be something I can do myself, and it may not. Um, but I don't mind spending a little bit because of the computer updates, right? They do
Sure.
software updates on the computer. That doesn't cost anything, but I mean, you got to take it up there for them to do that. So, all of that's done, and they run, diagnostics, the computer diagnostics to pull the data to
Yeah.
see if hey, was the number three cylinder burning lean X number of percentage of times when it was cranked. And, cars are amazing nowadays with the
Oh
technology
yeah.
and the
Oh
computers.
yeah.
They suck too, right? I mean, compared to, old school, 60s, 70s, whatever, muscle cars and whatever, they suck with the computers to an extent too. But it's also awesome because those diagnostics, they can run that, and it can show a complete history of that vehicle
Oh yeah.
and
Sure.
how lean the cylinder has burned since the first time it cranked or something. And
Mm-hmm.
so it can detect problems early and go, hey, well, you may have an injector that's maybe starting to go bad because we noticed that there's a, you know, 2% failure rate when you crank this car on the number four
Right.
cylinder, or something, right? And
Yeah.
you can go, okay, well, cool. And then I can come home and change that injector, or I can have them change it,
Exactly.
or whatever. And again, when we're out on a long road trip, that's not something that you have to worry about. It's a peace of mind. And then again, man, platinum level to AAA, you can't beat, and
This
I've
is
never
true.
had to use it, but for the 150 bucks a year that is, if you
Yeah.
road trip, like, come on, you can't beat
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, Wes says that he'll take his car to the shop and let them tell what the issues are. Then he'll pick and choose what he thinks he can do himself versus what he wants
Mhm.
them to do. Kind of
Yeah.
what you said. Yeah, there are certain things you can do. Some of the things you can do, you just don't want
You
to
don't
do.
want
So,
to do. Yeah. Yeah, and that's a
um,
lot of it. Could I carry a bunch of tools and a bunch of other stuff and whatever? And yeah, I could, but you know.
yeah, Mark says, I think Clover just won the night. He said, cars are awesome now and they suck. I can't think of a better way of saying it. That's true. Sykes says, "Damn, Clover's a gearhead too." Yeah, Clover was a licensed mechanic there for.
ASC certified mechanic, man. I still am. You don't lose your license, of course. It's one of them things where, man, when did I quit doing that? Probably in 2000 or so, 2001.
Yeah,
Professionally anyway.
yeah.
So cars have obviously changed a lot since
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
did anything. And I'll be honest, I built some engines. I've had
You
some
fixed some,
senior
like you
cars,
said,
some
you
local
fixed some
cars.
alternators in Tulsa in a parking lot at a
This is true.
sketchy hotel.
Yeah. But I've always been mechanically inclined and that sort of
Yeah,
stuff
I
too.
am not.
I don't do I don't do anything well, is kind of how I usually put it. I mean, obviously, when I was a mechanic, there were certain things I did well. I primarily did suspension under, suspension, drivetrain, not drivetrain, but suspension. What am I thinking? Steering, suspension, brake, undercar related, chassis related stuff more than anything.
Yeah,
Even though I built engines and stuff, but um, I always say I can do a lot of things, man. I can build stuff. I can work with metal. I can work with wood. I can do a lot of things. Um, just don't necessarily do them well. And so I get Wes's sentiment out there about there's some stuff that can I do it? Yeah.
do I
But
want
if
to?
I but
Yeah,
if I've got the money, and it's not even a do I want to mess with it. It's if I've got the money and I'd rather have somebody that knows what they're doing do it. Yeah.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. Defense Dad said he's going to spend tomorrow's day off in 5-degree weather working on a fuel leak in his engine bay. That'll be fun. I love Arminthia up here. She she said that she helps. She says I keep our car maintained by putting gas in it. Um, Most of the time, I'm the one who puts gas in my wife's car. Let's just be honest. This is not a knock on her. This is just how she grew up. And over in Okinawa, at least until recently, gas stations were still full service over there. So her whole life, it was full service
Man,
gas stations. So when she comes over here, and we were out in California living out there, um, seeing her trying to figure out how to put gas in her car the first time was relatively interesting, to say the least. But
Man,
yeah,
that gas thing reminds me of something. So we've had our conversation about electric cars, and
yeah,
one of the biggest thing with electric cars is for me is the mileage. If they would ever get the mileage for charge or whatever, right? Battery capacity, figured out and can get up into the 400-500 mile range.
yeah.
Then I mean, I would consider some electric stuff, to be quite honest with you. Um, but I watched a thing, and I don't know if anybody else ever watched it or you watched it, but it was a guy on a news channel, like out of New York City or something,
New
that
York City.
he went to Christmas in, I forgot where it was, Ohio or Pennsylvania or one of those states, and drove back in an electric vehicle and did a story on it.
Oh, okay, cool.
And it was a Tesla. It was a Tesla. And he said to charge it cost as much as gas would have cost him, was one of his final verdicts, which was interesting.
Mhm.
And then he also said that what was really problematic is it would say you had X number of miles left on the charge,
Yeah.
and that would not be accurate.
Like, did he say how accurate? I mean, how was is it like a few
70,
miles,
no,
or
no, no,
is it
like
like
70 or 80 miles off, not
oh
accurate.
snap? So
Yeah,
if it
no,
says you
no
have
shit.
100 miles, you might only have about 25 or
Yeah.
30 left.
And he said that there was times where they would, because they stayed 2 nights, they didn't drive straight. And
Yeah.
he said there was times when they would park it and it would have like 45 miles left or something, or it said that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they parked it, and then the next morning they got up and they're like, knew they were going to have to go charge it, right? And
Right.
so they got up and it had like 8 miles on it
Oh
when they.
wow.
But he said, yeah, from the time they charged it, it would say 400, whatever, 282 miles, right? But it dropped quicker than the mileage that they went. So if they drove 100 miles, it would take 150 miles off the reading. You feel what I'm saying?
Holy
Or whatever.
cow.
Like it wasn't
Yeah.
accurate. Yeah. Yeah. And I was like,
I've
well,
got
that's
some
good to
people
know.
around here that have like the Teslas and all of that, and I've never
Well,
really
driving
had a
around town, it don't matter.
conversation. Well, sure, yeah, but I've never had like the conversation with them on how accurate. I never, I just assumed the mileage was relatively accurate, within maybe 10% or so.
Yeah.
I never thought about that, but yeah, that's very very interesting. Um, let's start talking about the road trip to Vegas. And I know that you over the years you have taken a couple different routes from East Texas to Vegas. And in the last few years, you kind of settled on the route that you like, which is through Amarillo, New Mexico, up into Flagstaff, and then over into Vegas. Correct?
Yeah, basically what I-40 from here to Amarillo, I got to go 287, and then 40 to Kingman, and then I couldn't tell you from Kingman to Vegas what that
Sure.
road is,
Yeah.
but not
Yeah.
very many turns once you get the other side of Fort Worth anyway. There's not very many
Yeah.
turns. Getting through we've been through Fort Worth, getting from here to there is quite a few zigzags, but once you get to the other side of Fort Worth, I mean, you merge onto 40 at Amarillo,
And you just
and
go.
then at Kingman you turn, and then that's it. You're there.
Yeah. Was there a reason why you decided to change routes after the first year or so? I know you went a little more southern route the first time. Was that just because you thought it might be easier, or weather, or what?
Quite honestly, we don't get to see snow very often, and
Yeah.
you at least see snow-capped peaks and stuff if you
Yeah,
go
that's
the
true.
northern route.
Yeah,
If you get into Flagstaff, sometimes you actually see snow.
this is
Um,
true.
and so Flagstaff is honestly about it. And it's
In
really
Amarillo, you
beautiful.
never know what you're going to get in Amarillo.
So yeah, you really don't. Um, it's really weird though. Going into Flagstaff, there is
Flagstaff, by the way, guys, is beautiful. If you've never been there,
oh yeah,
that's probably
yeah.
the only part of Arizona you're going to get all 4 seasons. It is beautiful up there in northern Arizona.
Going into Flagstaff though is really weird. So east of Flagstaff could not be any more different than west of Flagstaff. You going in, it's kind of ugly and gross.
Yeah.
And until you literally hit like the peak there, you know what I mean? The
Yeah.
mountain at Flagstaff, it doesn't really start to get pretty at all.
Yeah.
But then coming back down on that western side, especially if it has snowed, is absolutely gorgeous for miles
Yeah.
and miles and miles and miles. You know, through all the valleys and all the whatever the high plains or whatever you call them, I guess. Uh,
Absolutely.
it's gorgeous on the western edge, you know, in Arizona, the western side of Flagstaff. But eastern side sucks. It's pretty much New Mexico, which all of New Mexico, with the exception of Albuquerque. When you're talking about along I-40 anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
Coming down into Albuquerque and all at night is absolutely gorgeous. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
New
It's pretty
Mexico's a
nice during
beautiful,
the day,
yeah. I was saying New
better at
Mexico's a
night.
beautiful state also. People don't
Yeah.
realize how really pretty New Mexico is.
But just the
Uh,
way New Mexico, the way Albuquerque is fairly tight and it sits in that valley, it's just, man, it's cool.
yeah. Defense Dad said I heard Amarillo is better in the morning. No, it's bad all the time. It might be better if you can get there by the morning.
Right.
But no, Amarillo, I tell you what, Amarillo is an interesting town. They've got a steakhouse there that I think it's a 64 ounce or 60 72 ounce steak or something like that. It's a famous restaurant there, and I've been there.
The
I did not.
86er. I thought it was the
It
old
was
86.
86. Was it 86? Okay, it could be.
Yeah.
But they got a thing where if you finish the steak and all the trimmings in one sitting, you get it for free. And
Yeah.
if you do, they also will take a picture of you. And there's
No, wife
people
said
that
it's 72. So
72. I thought it was
87.
72, but it's been a long time since I've been there.
86er may have been
Um,
the one from that movie, the Great Outdoors or whatever. Remember with John Candy
oh yeah.
and what's her
Defense
name?
says you must not be I'm a huge country fan. That's why I said it's better by morning, not in the morning. It's better by morning. Amarillo by morning, not Amarillo in the morning. So yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
But yeah, you know,
Hopefully,
you
yeah. Go ahead.
changing the route. What I was going to say is, we went up into went up to Oklahoma City at one time, jumped on 40 there and went
Yeah.
across.
Yeah.
And we'll never do that again. Time wise, I don't think it took really any more time because 287 is like at a diagonal, right?
Yeah.
From where we're at to Amarillo instead of going north and then west. But you're on pretty much interstate north and west, where 287 is not an interstate. It's a 2 lane and it's pretty
Yeah.
modern, but
It's a
you've got
highway, but it's not an
you've got
interstate.
yeah, you've got stops and you go through towns, right?
Yeah.
And so, but here's the thing: you get to Oklahoma City and you head out, and unlike 287, there are zero little town store stops once you head west out of Oklahoma City. There's nothing but
Well, because there's
tumbleweed,
nothing out
literally,
there.
literally nothing but tumbleweed crossing the road, and the
Yeah.
wind. Oh my God, the wind will blow a little car smooth off the road out there.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous. So I'm like, we ain't going that route anymore.
Yeah. Arminthia says she woke up one year in Amarillo and a snowplow beside us and white tumbleweeds. Welcome, Amarillo. Yeah.
Yeah, the white tumbleweeds were awesome.
Yeah. So I know that you and I have talked about this and all that, and I know it's not playing a role to this point at all. You'll always be keeping up, but SHOT Show is every year in January, and where you're going through Amarillo, New Mexico, northern Arizona are prone to getting snowstorms, especially with like this polar
Oh yeah.
vortex or whatever the hell that we're going through right now. As of right now, it hasn't affected anything. But when you start planning your road trip, do you also kind of game plan the southern route just in case you think there might be a blizzard or something coming in Amarillo or Flagstaff? I mean, do you even look at that route anymore, or are you just saying, you know what, we're going to take our chances?
Well, alternate routes are always an option.
Yeah.
But you can jag south. You don't have to jag you don't have to jag pretty far south to be able to miss a lot of weather, a lot of that weather. A lot of
Yeah.
folks don't realize that. Like I-40 is right there on the line.
Yeah.
Weather patterns when they move across, the vast majority of them are I-40 or north.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very few extend much south, if any, than I-40. So you can always jag a little bit south for you may lose an hour or so. You know what I mean on total drive time.
Yeah.
And you're kind of veering away and kind of letting it pass is what you're doing, and then you get back up on 40. I'm constantly looking at the weather though. I'm not scared to go.
I ain't scared.
Pretty much, yeah, I ain't to go I-40 the whole way because I'm constantly watching the weather and looking at radar and
Yeah.
a lot of times we can time it, and if it requires, it's like, hey, we really don't need to stop for fuel and go to the bathroom, but let's go ahead and stop here. And if we spend 15, 20 minutes here, by the time we get back on the road and we get down to where that's at, it will have done come through. You know what I'm
It's true.
saying?
Yeah.
And so we made that decision. I don't know, a few years back. There was a pretty bad little bout of snow. One my wife was talking about with a snowplow that we were going to run into.
Yeah.
And, by the time about Amarillo is when we were going to run into it. And by the time we got to Amarillo, like she was talking about, the snowplows were already out. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Doing
Oh
their
yeah.
thing. So for the most part, the roads were plenty passable. I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah.
They weren't perfect condition or anything, but plenty enough to be passable. So there's little things you can do like that, just
And
delay
there could be
time.
there might be some stretches that the traffic slows down and all of that because
Sure.
of road conditions. But
Well,
and like you said, you're going through areas like Amarillo and Flagstaff that historically are used to weather, and so the highway systems, the Department of Transportation, they're going to have their vehicles with sand and salt on the highways. They're going to
oh yeah,
have the plows out. They're when they see a week ahead of time that there's going to be possible snow.
mhm.
The great thing about the interstate system is it's still probably the biggest way of transporting things in the U.S. with the trucking system.
Oh yeah.
So the interstate highways are usually pretty good. If you can get on an interstate, they're usually going to be pretty decent as far as getting the roads ready for everybody.
Well, and keep in mind too that by the time we get to Amarillo, it's typically 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
So it is absolute dead of night when we're burning through all of New Mexico.
yeah.
That's why I said when I said Albuquerque is beautiful at night, it's like
That's
you
when
know
you've seen it. Yeah,
most of the time that's when we're coming through Albuquerque. It's just dark, and so the lights down below and all that's what I'm talking about.
yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
then even rolling through Flagstaff, it's typically
Hmm.
nighttime even,
Yeah,
and so all of that is at night. And so when you're talking about late night, early morning, traffic is not heavy anyway. It's the interstate, but
yep.
even the interstate doesn't have bumper to bumper crazy wild traffic,
True.
at that time of night. So,
Yeah,
um, you don't have to worry about it too much. And that's one of the reasons it's fairly easy to drive it in one stretch too, is because
yeah.
most of it being overnight, you don't have to worry about it so much.
Yeah. Snob says that he misses driving to shot, but does not miss driving home from shot. And I get that. He says the drive to Vegas is easy but boring at times. Yeah, there is like you said, once you get past Oklahoma City, there ain't a whole hell of a lot out there.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and to be fair, the one time that Snob and Gizzard drove, Gizzard was not the best passenger to liven things up for
yeah,
Snob out here. So
yeah. Your wife says she survives through sleeping through the rough parts. Yep. Take care, G23. He said he's got to work in the morning. I do not. Armentia says my husband's the daredevil, like sport mode. Sport mode, baby. Sport mode. Yeah, the fun part of the road trips is if you got someone going with you is for me, like if I'm driving, I don't necessarily care if the passenger's awake and up and talking. It does make the time go by faster if you can talk and all that stuff. Yeah, it does go by faster. But when I'm riding and not driving, as much as I mean, if it's my wife and all that, sometimes I'll sleep with my daughters because two of the three of us will always be awake. But I almost kind of feel obligated if I'm riding to stay awake and maybe talk and make sure that the driver is okay. Um, when you're riding versus driving, I mean, when you're riding, do you, especially in a thing like that, are you trying to sneak in a few hours sleep just to make sure that you're fresh when you're trying to drive again? Or are you trying to stay up or what?
It just kind of depends. A lot of times, my wife does better in the day than at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Same with my wife. She
I
doesn't
don't
like
know that
driving at night.
I don't know that I care either way. I probably prefer it at night, to be quite
I do
honest,
too.
because
I do too.
I don't have to worry about other drivers. You know, the road is a little more clear, and I like to. When it's like that, especially,
Oh yeah.
we come back from South Carolina. I like to put the hammer down. So, um,
Still,
and
still one of the most fun times I've ever had driving.
I feel a little better putting the hammer down when there's way less traffic on the road. Um,
Or if you've got 6 cars that are willing to go
this
with
is
you.
true. Yeah, this is true. Um, but typically we'll head out. She'll start, and I may nap or something the first 8 or 10 hours or so. I may nap a little bit, and then by the time we're pulling in Amarillo, it's darker or way past dark, and um, a few more hours, and then she'll jump over and nap a little bit, and I can
Yeah.
pretty much drive till daylight. And then a lot of times I'm asleep when we're rolling into Vegas. Actually, we
Yeah.
get to Kingman, from Kingman to Vegas. A lot of times I'll snooze a little bit at that point. So,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, it's there's not a lot of sleep uh,
Yeah.
involved. I mean, how well can you sleep in a vehicle burning down the
No, I
highway?
can sleep. I can sleep pretty well. But I can
Uh,
sleep anywhere at any time though.
the
Uh,
sleeping is not the problem. It's when you wake up and you're so sore from
Now
weird
that is a
positions.
whole nother issue.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think your body knows that, and so your body
Oh
really doesn't
yeah.
want to go to sleep. But getting comfortable is
Yeah.
sometimes an issue.
Yeah. If I'm in a car and we're on a road trip, I want to drive, and I'm going to drive. I do prefer at night. Let's just be honest. But I want to drive as long as I can until I just can't drive anymore. I enjoy driving. But I'm one of those guys that if I'm in a car, I want to be driving unless I just can't physically do it. Um, Now there have been times we've gone somewhere with my wife and daughter and stuff, that we'll be coming home from somewhere, and I know that I'll have to work the next morning, and we're driving through the middle of the night to get home. Um, my wife will drive, and my daughter will stay up with her, so she'll let me get some sleep so that because I have to work the next morning and all that. Now Syke says he doesn't trust his wife driving. Ain't no way he would sleep. I say that I trust my wife's driving unless there's a funeral around. Then I get a little
Right.
worried.
Truth.
Uh,
Yeah.
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 Arminthia says she gets up at 2:30 normally every day for work. So when the sun goes down, it's time for her to sleep. Yeah, I get that.
I'll
Uh,
I'll tell you
no, go ahead.
one of the things that really has helped with a lot of the road trips, and not and my wife even said something. She's like, "Yeah, when I get over there to sleep, you'll jump on a live stream." Nowadays with the technology that we have, what
Yeah,
we're using right now, for example,
absolutely.
um, I can't tell you, G-Webs will start a live. This was like saving my life or something.
Oh, yeah. He
And
did that a couple years ago, didn't he?
he's done it several times where it'd be
Yeah,
late at night, whatever. I'm on a long road trip or something, especially if I'm solo, and and I've got 17, 18, 20-hour drive solo. A lot of times G-Webs in the past has fired up live streams.
yeah,
And so I can't read the chat, but he'll read them, and we'll
yeah,
basically talk like we're talking now. Burning down the highway, and not only does it pass time, but it keeps me active and awake. I've never really been one to fall asleep. I've had a couple of times in my life on road trips that I felt that I had to pull over in a rest stop or something
yeah,
and snooze for like an hour or something. Or otherwise, I was going to die. And it's been literally in my whole life a handful of times I've had that feeling. So I don't
yeah,
suffer from that issue too much. And I've drove 30 hours straight with no sleep, or whatever, no stayovers, no nothing like that, multiple times. So it's like I
yeah,
know I can do it. But like we were talking about, it depends on the situation, right? Like I would
yeah.
never leave after a week of SHOT Show and think I was going to drive for 20 hours straight. Like
Right.
that's
Yeah,
that's not going to happen. That would be one of those times that I would have to pull over. There's no doubt about
yeah.
it.
I
So
pulled
just know
over
your
and slept
limitations.
in parking lots and stuff.
Yeah,
You get a
but
couple hours.
road tripping is awesome. It's just, you got to work your way up and where you know your limitations,
Yep. Yep.
and you know what to avoid and what not to avoid. There's going to be certain foods you need to avoid. There's going to be certain
Yep.
comforts. Which sometimes will drive my wife up the wall, but it doesn't bother me too much that, sometimes I will, even if it's cold, I will put on I will, pull over and it's like, okay, I got to go to the bathroom and this, that, and the other.
Mhm.
And, I'll put on my jacket or my coat and I'll roll the windows down
Yeah. Yeah.
and turn the heater off. And I'll drive for an hour or two with the windows down and the
Oh, yeah.
heater off. I
It'll
got my
keep you
jacket on.
fresh, though.
And, it's just something different. You know what I mean? Make myself a little
Yep.
bit uncomfortable. And that'll help to keep me awake. So
Especially on those stretches where there's, from basically Oklahoma City to Amarillo, it's probably no turns. It's just straight prairie of highway.
oh,
And
I say avoid that stretch at all cost if you
right.
possibly can. But yeah, I hear
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Our
G's even commented on that with his drives to Tulsa before.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, that stretch, everybody says that from
It's well,
Amarillo to Oklahoma
anytime
City.
there's a stretch that's just straight with no curves or
Brutal.
anything, and
Yeah.
there's nothing there, that's the hardest part because you have to figure out ways to keep you
We
going.
we had a stretch from last summer, I guess it was, from Colorado Springs to uh Wichita, Kansas.
Mm,
That was not Wichita because you turn and go south to Wichita, so it wasn't Wichita. But I forgot where we turned. But that stretch west to east through half, three quarters of Kansas and part of Colorado. Oh
yeah,
my God, that's an Oklahoma to or
yeah,
Oklahoma City to Amarillo stretch.
yeah.
It's horrible. Nothing but corn
Oh, yeah.
or
Arminta
sunflowers.
says the biggest thing that if you get to sleep, you need get out every stop. The bathrooms are hard to find, so that's another thing I want to talk about. Is you by now you've kind of got it down. But the first couple times, some of those things, like you said, you're going through New Mexico, which is desolate outside of a couple of cities. There's really not a whole lot in New Mexico, anyways, much less in
Yeah.
the middle of the night. Do you have to plan? Hey, we might not be able to make it as far as we want to do on this tank because by the time we need gas, there won't be a gas station. So have you kind of got an idea now of planning your stops, not only just for smoke breaks, but for
Yeah.
gas and food and all that, to where you kind of got it down now, or do you still try to push it? I mean, what I'm saying is do you stop at
We
the
never
same
push it.
places every time, or what?
Yeah, we never really push it. We kind of have our waypoints or our checkpoints, and we don't really push it, even though we probably could. I mean, you're talking about having the same car for what, the second, third year in a row. I don't know what it is now, and having a vehicle that and that's much different than renting when you don't really know. So we know that the mileage counter is accurate. And we know all of that. Um, the bathroom thing can pop up at any given time. So I mean, that's even though you try to moderate and figure things out, sometimes you have to find a spot. It happens. But for the most part, our refuels happen at the same place, and we try not to run it. I mean, if we get down much below like 100 miles, um, it's time to get some fuel, and usually we're at those checkpoints by then. Usually, and any time that we run below that, it's because a wreck has held us up, or something weird has happened. We've had multiple instances that we've had wrecks, and some of them you may sit there for 15 minutes, some of them you may sit there an hour. You never really know. One of the good things is having a vehicle, and that's the other thing. It's not like you can sit there and kill the vehicle when it's cold outside because you're going to freeze. So you kind of got to sit there with the
Right.
vehicle running, unfortunately. Um, but that's one of the other good things about having a vehicle, that you're going to get 40-ish miles to the
Yeah.
gallon as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
because now granted doesn't have but a 12-gallon tank or something, but um, you're going to get um, you're going to be able to go quite a ways. And so that's kind of a blessing, especially through New Mexico, because you don't have very many choices along I-40.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the stretch that I was most
yeah.
wondering about because, you
So
know, the Amarillo to New Mexico through Albuquerque and actually beyond Albuquerque into
Yeah.
Arizona is probably the stretch that's probably the hardest, I'd imagine.
So you definitely have to fill up in Amarillo. You better not leave Amarillo unless you're full. And I'm talking about full, not 10 miles less or 20 miles less, full.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you better not leave Santa Rosa unless you're full.
Yeah.
If you have to, there's this travel center that I'm actually wearing a serape that I bought at that travel center right now. There's it's been there forever. Probably was there when it was Route 66 or whatever. Pretty big, like mom and pop travel center type thing there, and it's
Yeah.
not horrible, but it's not a regular stop for us unless we just have to use the bathroom or something's happening. We have to get fuel,
Yeah.
and because it's about I would say about 45 minutes, maybe, or something like that from Albuquerque, right? So you're almost to Albuquerque. So if you have filled up in Santa Rosa, you can easily make it to Albuquerque. And then you've got Albuquerque to Gallup. And you pretty much better fill up fill up in Albuquerque. Like, you can't pass through Santa Rosa or
Yeah. Whether you
Albuquerque.
whether you need to stop in Albuquerque or not, you're filling up in
You're
Albuquerque.
gonna have to, like, there's no choice. I mean, maybe if you took an offshoot or some one-off gas station somewhere, or whatever, but that's usually Amarillo, Albuquerque, Gallup, and then usually we can make it to Flagstaff from there, Kingman, and then by that time we're in Vegas. So we've got, what is that, 4 stops, 5? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Not much.
So I know that you've been very vocal about this. Your favorite quote unquote truck stop and all of that travel center, if you will, is Bucky's. Obviously, there aren't Bucky's heading out to Vegas. Um, what's your favorite travel center or truck stop or whatever for
Oh,
food? We're
Love's
talking
is,
food. We're talking for food on the way out to from your house to Vegas. Aside from Bucky's,
so
what's got the best food out there that you stopped at?
Yeah, so Bucky's is no, I don't know that Bucky's is really a travel center. It's more of a travel destination. I don't know what you'd call it, but yeah, they're not everywhere, so that doesn't count.
Yeah,
Like Love's is amazing.
yeah, loves are pretty good. Yeah, loves are pretty good.
Regardless of the location, where you're going or what the trip is. Like for
Yeah,
me, and a lot of people are flying J or pilot or whatever, especially if you're a truck driver. I get it, but for road tripping and not being a truck driver. Um, I really like Love's.
I do too.
They're super consistent. Bathrooms are generally pretty clean. Um, and they usually have restaurants. A
Yeah,
variety of different restaurants around. Those restaurants, if they're not limited menu all night long, um, some of them have full menu all night long, but some of them at least have limited menu all
right.
night long. And then Love's also has their rotisserie with the hot dogs and the
Mhm.
sausages and then their deli, whatever you want to call it, section, and it's pretty decent. And then if you
Yeah,
need, the other beautiful thing is Love's has, I mean, you can pick up coats, you can pick up hell my army coat or jacket that I wear, a
yeah.
lot. You've seen it come from a Love's.
Oh, did it
So
really?
yeah, and I didn't
Nice.
need a jacket, but I seen that and had to have it. I was like, oh
Yeah,
crap, I need that. So there's clothes and Loves, there's electronics, there's cell phone chargers, there's candy and chips and drinks and other things, but um, it is legit like a one stop thing.
yeah. Have you guys? One of the best things that I like to do when I'm on a road trip is to find. Now, obviously, if I'm in a really big hurry and I'm hungry, I'll just go through either a truck stop or I'll go through whatever fast foods there. But if I've got a little bit of time, I like to stop at like little places that I'll get it to go or something, but it's places that aren't chain. Have you guys stopped and found any cool food places along that route that you guys kind of hit up every year or no?
No, not that I'm aware of.
You might be sleeping when she stops though.
We now coming back, yeah, I mean we've ate at a few different places, coming back. Usually going on the trips, no, it's a straight through, straight shot thing for the
Yeah.
most part. Um Coming back, not trying to think we've ever ate. I know we ate one time at a little place in Flagstaff. We ate breakfast one morning there. I
Yeah.
know that we ate. It was in Arkansas. I think it was coming into Arkansas. So that was Indy probably one year.
Okay.
Coming into Arkansas, we ate breakfast. Obviously we rolled in late, got a hotel.
Do you remember where?
It was no, I would
What
have to
town?
look. No,
Okay.
it was right over the border. I can tell you
Coming in
that.
from where?
Coming in from the north.
From Missouri?
Yeah, yeah. We stayed at a
Could have
what
been at
was it?
Harrison.
Maybe a Holiday Inn Express. I can't remember. Harrison sounds like maybe it wasn't a big. It was not a big town. I can tell you that at all. Was not a big town.
Harrison's probably, I don't know,
This is not something that would have
10,000 people.
it maybe. I don't know that at the
Was it
time.
about an hour south of Branson? Does that sound familiar?
I mean, we didn't go through
You didn't
Branson,
go through
but
Branson? Okay, might not have been then.
whatever interstate runs down the eastern side of Arkansas.
Oh, the Eastern. So you're talking like, what is that, 55?
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
It's a lot of
yeah.
those Jonesboroughs up there. Yeah, it could have
It
been
was
one of
not a big
those.
town, dude.
Well,
Like it
Jonesboro's a
wasn't.
big college town, so
This was like a Holiday Inn Express. May have been the only even hotel. It was only one of a couple that was at
yeah.
least along the interstate there. And it was the little place. I can't even remember that was next to it, but it was. We ate breakfast there the next morning. It was pretty good. Pretty good.
John said out there on I-40, there's a cool truck stop outside of the Petrified Forest on 40 that has an Indian restaurant and some cool shopping. And I'm assuming he's talking Native American Indian restaurant. Maybe he's not. I don't know. But there you go. Yeah, Snob says that Love's has good beef jerky. They do have good beef jerky. I can attest to that. I can attest to that. One of the things that always we talk about road tripping and all of that are we talk some of the highs. This is not necessarily to go into Vegas and back, but what are some of I know you and Armenthea took a little western route a couple of years ago, like you said, to Colorado and stuff like that. Oh, like he said no, like Asian Indian. Okay, so okay, interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably got some curry there, I imagine. But have y'all had any like weird things happen during road tripping?
Trying to think. I mean, I don't think so. Not really.
Nothing crazy.
Can't think
That's
of
good. That's
anything.
a
I mean,
good thing. Yeah.
man, the McDonald's in California was one of the trippiest things.
Oh yeah.
So we get to Kingman and man, we blazed through quick
Yeah.
too that
Yeah, you
trip, and
did.
we
I
get to
remember
Kingman
that.
and my wife wanted to check California off the list, and so I'm like, well, we're not very far. Let's just swing through the edge of California. Don't want to get too deep into La La Land there, but let's swing through the edge of California. You can check that off. I said, and on top of that, we'll stop. We'll find a McDonald's or Jack in the Box or something. We'll
Yeah.
stop and eat breakfast. And you can actually say you ate breakfast in California, which is even better.
Hey.
And then we'll
Yeah.
just circle on around back into Nevada, back into Vegas, right? And so we literally headed out of Kingman and first little town basically into California had a McDonald's, and we walk into this place and there's a sign on the counter that we're now hiring, minimum $15 an hour, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking, freaking California, here we go with the $15 an
Yeah.
hour minimum wage crap, And then we look up at the menu board at the prices, and holy Jesus, like they don't have a dollar menu like they do here.
Like a $5 menu. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, like no kidding, like seriously. And we ended up getting like a sausage biscuit and hash brown and a drink a piece, which would be like $3 here a piece.
Yeah.
$6 or something. I mean, definitely a $10 bill would have paid for it.
Yeah.
And it was like nearly $20. It was like $18 or $19 or something.
Right.
It was insane. I'm like, oh, thank you, $15 minimum wage. So we got the heck out of there about as quick as we could. Now the little road we came back on, because there really isn't no like interstate or anything there you can get on. And we got on some little 2-lane road that was twisty and turny and hilly. And of course, I had my wife with me, and so I would have hammered down on that little road. It'd have been me. She would have been with me because that would have been a fun road on a motorcycle. To be quite honest with you,
Yeah. Yeah.
one of them. You know what I mean? And it's desert basically on both sides, so it's super flat and all on both
Yeah.
sides. Um, it was just, and not big hills, but you
Sure.
know,
Yeah.
it was just a very cool little road. And I don't know, we rode for 2 hours or something on that road. It was insane, but um, that's I don't know. I mean, that's I guess that is something.
Yeah. Wes is gonna drop. He said have a good trip. So yeah, appreciate you.
Well,
So Defense Dad brings up something. This was gonna be one of the questions that I was gonna bring up to you. He says, if you look around a truck stop really well sometime and you'll never annoy a trucker again, there's all sorts of weird stuff there that people actually buy. Yeah. I was going to say, what's of all the places that you have, and it's not just the Vegas one, this is all your road trips to stop and get travel centers or gas stations or whatever. What is the weirdest thing that you've seen sold in a truck stop? Do you remember anything that just comes to mind?
man, weird things sold in a truck stop.
I was somewhere it's either Mississippi or Alabama. I'm not real sure. And you walked in this big truck stop and they had like places to rent tuxedos and gowns. I don't know if it was like during prom season or if it was there might have been like a wedding chapel. I don't know, but I've never seen a place that you could do a rental for tuxes and gowns. And there might have been like a wedding chapel attached to this place. I don't know. I have no idea. But that's the weirdest thing. I was like, why are there tuxedos and like ball gowns that you could rent in a gas station? Like, why? Like, why? You know, I don't know. I don't get that.
You know, I think seems like I've seen one that had, and they were in a case, a plexiglass case,
Sure, like a display case, yeah,
with a bunch of other stuff in there. But seemed like there was one that had like nunchucks and Chinese stars, and it's only been one I think that I've seen that's had that. And I was like, okay,
were they for sale or they just?
Oh yeah. No, they were 100% for sale. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
That'd be
and I'm like,
cool.
it's been a long time since I've been in a store that's had
yeah
ninja paraphernalia. Let's just say,
yeah.
for sale. There used to be one county over. There used to be a mall here. I mean, the mall's still there, but I don't think there's a store one in it. I think maybe the VA clinic is in there, and that's it. Now it's desolate, as are a lot of malls across the United States. But strip malls are the thing now. But there used to be a little, or whatever you want to call it. I know they don't like to be called Oriental, but that type of a
Asian,
shop, an Asian whatever type that was in there that we went through all the time. That had the blow dart guns and the nunchucks and the Chinese
That's
stars.
pretty cool.
And of course they had the teacups and all the rugs and the the little pillows you sit on. And I mean, if you wanted to do anything with Asian decor or culture or whatever like that, was where you went. And they had a pretty banging ninja section, if that's what you want to call it.
They did.
We bought a lot of stuff growing up or whatever. We loved it when Mama had to go to the mall. It's like, we can hang out in the ninja store or whatever.
The fact that they're willing to sell throwing stars to kids, it's
they did. They didn't ask.
Ain't America great?
I mean, this was in the 80s, of course, but they didn't care. They'd sell whatever, swords and ninja stars and nunchucks to little kids. They didn't care. And they were pretty good quality stuff too, is the thing back then.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was,
they were probably handmade back then,
I don't know, but they held up. We beat each other with them and threw the stars at all kinds of brick walls and everything else, and they still
Like Snob says, I go in a lot of stores that have high quality throwing stars, knives, and glass pipes for decoration only, he assumes. Yes. The pipes are tobacco pipes. Sure, Snob. Absolutely they are.
Yeah.
And Ginger says the one that the Indian restaurant has, that swords, knives, native stuff, petrified wood, and everything else your heart desires. So,
Man, you remember that one we stopped at? We had to stop. What was it coming out of? Was it coming out of or going into? I think it was going into Illinois, maybe. And it was that big, huge.
right before Illinois, but we had to go and
I
stop and
think
put our
so,
stuff
but it was a
together. Yeah,
big,
yeah,
huge gas station, like
yeah.
big
Oh
building,
yeah,
and they had like it was the size of a Walmart supercenter, dude.
yeah. It was big. Yeah,
That had all these aisles, and they had a ton of. I don't even know what all that place had in it. It was insane.
yeah. I don't know because I mean it was too big for me to walk. I didn't want to take the time to walk all the way through it. But
Right?
yeah, that
No,
was a big one,
agreed. But
big one.
that blew my mind at just the amount of stuff that was in there.
Oh yeah, for sure. So aside from pulling in, coming through the valley and seeing the strip and seeing Vegas light up, even though it's daytime, aside from that, and aside from pulling into your driveway, I would assume that those are the two most awesome parts of your trip because you get to stop driving for a while. On the road trip to Vegas, what's the prettiest, or what's the thing that you look forward to seeing the most on your road trip? Once again, aside from pulling into Vegas.
Snow, man. Like I said earlier, anything
Yeah.
snow cap hills,
Yeah.
or I don't necessarily say mountains because a lot of people who live out there don't classify them as mountains, but for me,
Yeah.
it's mountains. But
Yeah.
anytime we see snow, or whatever, it's pretty awesome. I mean, occasionally you'll get a ram or sheep or a goat, whatever you want to call it, I guess, and or an elk or something. Occasionally that happens.
Sarge says parking lot tamales. I would not. I would trust a parking lot tamale before I would trust parking lot or gas station sushi.
As
Just saying.
long as it's a abuela selling them, it'd be all right.
Yeah,
But if
that's right. That's right.
it's a younger person selling them, probably not. But
Yeah. Defense Dad says I kept seeing a dude walking past the store with a katana. Took him 3 days to figure out there was a dojo a block away doing weapons classes. But until you figure that out, that would be kind of interesting seeing a guy walking past the store with a katana. Like, what in the hell is going on here?
got to do what you got to do, man.
You got to do. Hey, that's some people open carry 1911. Some people open carry katanas. It's all good. It's all good. Favorite part of the road trip? Do you have a favorite part of the road trip?
I don't know. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I mean, Bucky's on the way or coming back. Always a highlight for sure.
Yeah.
I just, not really. I mean, it's weird. It's staying in Flagstaff. Coming back, we always stay the night in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
And so,
how far is it from Flagstaff to Vegas that day, that first day?
Flagstaff to Vegas is 6 hours, 6-ish hours, maybe something.
So when y'all roll out on Saturday or whatever, y'all drove to Flagstaff, get some nice meal, relax, get in the hotel, get a good night's sleep, and then at that point, do y'all drive straight back from Flagstaff, or are y'all stopping in Amarillo or somewhere else?
Stop in Amarillo. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that nenext day is pretty brutal. So Sunday's, is it Sunday? Sunday, because we'll stay in Flagstaff. We'll get up. Sunday's usually pretty brutal. We'll get up not super, super early, but, because we're not in a crazy hurry. Grab some breakfast, or whatever, and it's an all day literally till dark, or it's after dark, to get to Amarillo. That's a long, long way.
Oh yeah.
So, and then we'll stay Amarillo and then finish out obviously the next day. I'll tell you, one of the things is making the decision, and obviously last year a series of events led to where we were able to stay Friday night and come home Saturday. And that's where you learn, and we had the epiphany that, man, if we could stay that extra night, Makes a
Yeah.
world of difference. A world of difference because
Yeah.
before we were leaving the show and driving to Flagstaff,
Yeah.
and even though that's not, that
That's not
terrible
the
of a
optimal
drive,
time to be driving. Yeah, for you guys coming
it's
off
like, oh my
the
God,
last day of shot.
that's
Yeah.
still a long drive after you've spent all week and then you've been all day on the floor and all of that. Um, it's still pretty tough. It's still a
Yeah.
pretty tough drive. So yeah, staying that extra night absolutely freaking helps when you drive for sure.
Absolutely.
So and thankfully this year we were blessed to be able to make that happen.
Yeah. And we all know that the most important part of a road trip is music. We all know that. And I know that you spent the last couple of days kind of getting everything
Got
ready
it
for
right here.
music wise for the drive.
Mhm.
Um,
Got it right here.
I
Yeah.
got two questions for you. First
Of
one is
course.
not this particular road trip, but is there some go to that no matter what road trip you're going on, that's included? Like, what's the go to road trip music for you?
Man, here's the problem. Um, road
Like,
trips
do you
are
take your road
typically
trip music? Like, if you're going to Alabama, are you going to put like some Southern rock and stuff in
no,
there,
no,
or
no,
is it just music that you like?
no. It's got to be, you know me. I think
Yeah,
you're the same way. Like I listen to all kinds of stuff
everything. Yeah,
from literal musicals to
yep,
metal to rap to country to whatever, right?
yep, yep.
Um, so any road trip that's going to be any type of length, I've got to have a variety,
Yeah,
a wide variety, because any given time, it has to do too with we were talking about making yourself uncomfortable and whatever.
yeah.
There's something about mixing it up. You know what I mean? Um,
Oh yeah,
having that variety allows me to mix it up. Um, So it's definitely going to be a variety. Now, one thing that I do try to pay attention to, and sometimes there's certain songs that just have to go into that mix regardless, but I try to stay with fairly upbeat stuff. One of the worst things is calming music at
this is
four
true,
o'clock in the
especially
morning when you drove for
driving
eight
through New
hours.
Mexico. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you gotta have something with a beat, something
You're not going to listen to
crazy,
some
fast paced.
Sinatra going through New
Oh
Mexico at
my
night,
god, or
probably.
and I know you love it, but I would literally run off the road and die at
Yeah.
4 in the morning, crossing New Mexico after driving 8 hours, and Comfortably Numb come on.
Oh, see,
I
I'd be
I
okay
would
with that.
I would absolutely be in the ditch because that relaxes me and stuff so much. I can't do it.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, Comfortably Numb is not on this flash drive.
Uh, okay,
Sorry,
we'll have to change that. You should at
sorry.
least put it in the 800 song playlist since you know that I'm going to be in the car, at some point. So,
There's some Floyd over there, but it's more
all right,
upbeat
cool.
stuff.
I'm okay. As long as there's Floyd, I'm good. Now, G Web says if Ghost dropped a rope down out of the plane, Clover could hook it to his car and the plane could drag him most of the way down 40. This is probably true.
Feel
This is
like a Con
probably
Air
true.
thing there,
That's
almost.
right. That's right. All right. So you've got an 800 song bank that you've kind of put together for the
748, I think, right now or something.
748 songs that you've got for the road trip to Vegas. And obviously, part of those are a mixture of yours and Arminthia.
Most of mine.
Um,
I mean, she doesn't
and
have any
she just
input
asked,
really
is
in
there
this
any
stuff.
country on that drive? So
There's
I'm
about
sure
half
there
of it.
is.
Half of it's probably country, yeah.
All right. So give me some highlights. Give me some of the songs that you put on there specifically because you wanted it for this road trip. Give us some songs out there that you'll be cruising
Man,
to.
let me tell you this. When you try to put together a 748 song playlist or enough to
It's pretty
cover
much everything, isn't it?
enough, I think there's like 32 hours of music right now or something.
Yeah.
Um, there's no it's on there because I want it. It's on there because I'm trying to fill the thing up and get enough music.
Yeah.
Um, so when you go
I'm
to
sure there's
specific
some Gaga
songs,
on there for you. I'm sure, right?
there's absolutely some Gaga on there. Eminem's got to be.
Yeah.
It's definitely got to be some
Got some
rap.
Metallica probably on there.
There is very little, but there is.
Okay. There
Yeah.
is some. Okay.
Um, there's
Any
some Def Leppard.
ACDC or Def
Uh,
Leppard or Bon
when you get
Jovi or
into
any of
some
those?
stuff for my wife, there's some. I'm trying to think when you get into the country stuff. There's definitely some of the older country. So there's some Travis Tritt, there's some George Strait.
And see, I don't consider that old country. I call that country.
Well, older 90s country. Yeah, you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
that's country to
Yeah,
me.
yeah. There's some
80s and
80s.
90s country is
Well,
as good as it ever got.
yeah, there's some Reba McEntire on there. There's also some Waylon Jennings and some Willie Nelson and some Johnny Cash and some stuff like that. So it gets a little bit older. Trying to think the oldest.
Sarge said you should add the Cleverleys to your list. You can thank him later.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe
I don't
we'll
need
look
to
at
know
that.
who that is, but I'm afraid to look it up if Sarge telling me to do that.
Oh, I was asking,
Uh,
is there any new
any
country?
new
I don't
country? So is that
know.
like
I
what
don't think
anything after 2000, or is he talking about
there's
like
definitely
recent?
some stuff after 2000. So there's some
Like
Dirk
Brad Paisley and
Bentley.
some stuff.
I know there's some Brad
Dierks
Paisley.
Bentley,
There's
okay.
some
Maybe
Dirk
some Jason
Bentley on
Aldean.
there. I don't think there's any Jason Aldean.
I
There's
love Jason Aldean, man.
man, I'm trying to think. Hang on, let's do this.
Well,
Let's see
Defense Dad wants to know if my uncle's on there at all.
if you're doing, huh?
Defense Dad wants to know if my uncle's on your list. You got to be some Steve Miller, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yep.
She
There's
said so. He built him a list, not something for me.
yes, maybe. I mean,
So you're saying there's a chance.
I tried to put stuff in there that had, you know.
Arminthia, you should know by now. If you want something done for you, you're just going to do it yourself, sweetheart. You should build your own thumb drive. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to probably teach her how to try to do that. Try to. I know there's some newer stuff. There's some Miranda Lambert in there,
Okay.
which is post 2000, I believe.
Gunpowder and lead or something like that. A little bit of that. Yeah.
Kerosene for sure.
Kerosene, yeah.
Running down here. See, some of these I don't know by the. Some of these are by the song, and I don't actually
There's
know
got to
by
be some
the
Tom
artist.
Petty on there. Tell me there's some Tom Petty.
Oh, 100% there's Tom Petty.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Like
Now,
I said,
my,
you're not gonna find probably very many, if any, artists that aren't on here. At least something from them.
yeah.
That many. I mean, come on.
Right. No, I hear you. She says, I need your thoughts and prayers for this trip. You've got them, sweetheart, and I'll see you in a week. Actually, I'll see you in 5 days from now. Oh, my God.
She'll be okay. And don't let her fool you.
Well, she's a little bit of a drama queen, isn't she?
She's more into the. No, I mean, she's telling.
She just said, who is Tom Petty?
I absolutely. You will have to do the songs and sing them for her to know, but she absolutely knows "Last Dance with Mary Jane" and "Free Falling" and
she
American
doesn't know that
Girl
it's Tom Petty, yeah,
and "Refugee" and
"Refugee,"
yes, like she knows all those. But and I've learned that she doesn't necessarily know music from music. She knows music from like TVs and movies. So if you put some stuff on there that is in a movie or a TV show she's watched, then she's okay with that.
So you're saying that she'll probably know the words to every song on Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh, like every track. Well, not the slow stuff. I tried to stay away from some of that, but basically every track from all three of the Guardians of the Galaxies are going to be in there for sure.
Right.
That's amazing music. So why not?
It is good stuff. Free Ballin's his favorite. Free Ballin's a great song. But that's also a great way to drive too, if you're by yourself, let's see.
No shoes for sure. Like kick those shoes off, dude. Throw them on the floor.
So that's a great last question. Road trip attire. Are you going comfy? You going like sweats? Are you going slides? Are you going tennis shoes? What are you wearing?
Pull on, shoes.
Yeah.
So yeah, the slip ins. But when I'm driving or in the vehicle, I'm not wearing them.
Right.
And then
sweats and hoodie type stuff.
I wouldn't say sweats necessarily, but sweats, t-shirt, long sleeve shirt, hoodie, type stuff. Yeah, it's definitely comfort. I ain't wearing tack pants and crap like that.
Yeah, I'll be wearing sweatpants and a hoodie on the flight to Vegas.
Loose fitting.
That's how I travel.
Yeah, loose fitting clothing. Right.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. It's been fun. Hour 20 minutes. Obviously, you'll be leaving out here in a few days to head to Las Vegas, and I
Hopefully
will
Friday
see
morning.
you. Well, let's hope weather permitting that we're all well. I won't be leaving out Friday, but I'll be flying in Saturday, and I'll see you guys hopefully.
What time do you get in?
It's a great question. I want to say 1:30, 1:45, something like that. Let
So
me
we could
find
eat
out real
some.
quick.
We can eat some dinner at Genghis then, like we normally do on Saturday, probably, huh?
Yeah, we could most definitely do that. Or I can cook you a steak, whatever you want to do. But Genghis is great. Let's see here. I land at 1:45 Vegas time.
It'll be time to eat lunch then. Just about.
Hell yeah. So,
And you'll be going back in time anyway, so it'll pretty much be.
I'll be going back in time 2 hours. Yeah. It's a 3-hour. It's a 3-hour flight. I leave at like 12:30 or something like that, and land at like 1:45. But yeah, it's losing 2 hours. So yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll grab a bite to eat, get to the house, get settled in, and all that jazz. And then we got a big week planned. A lot of stuff going on. It's shot, obviously. We'll have a good time, and I'll see you next weekend, guys. Thank you guys for everyone for joining live. Like I said, if you're not familiar with the Speed Limit 155 channel, we're gonna start doing more car stuff. We just haven't done much this year. I've been a little busy. But we'll do some car stuff over there. I like the podcasts, if nothing else, talking cars and different aspects of cars about, and road tripping is a fun one. It's a fun conversation, at least, and all that. If you're interested, go check that out. If you're on the Speed Limit 155 channel and you into guns and all that, check out our main channel, Ghost Tactical. Make sure you go check out Clover Tack and all of his stuff. The easiest way to find all of his projects is probably at clovertack.com.
Oh, yeah.
You can reach him everywhere and all that. My friend, I will see you Saturday, hopefully.
Yeah, buddy. Yep.
All right. Yep. You guys, like I said, thank you guys for hanging out with us for a little bit. We're going to get out of here. And for everyone out there that's going to be at SHOT, you all travel safely as well. And we'll see you next week. Take care. And I would say this, I always kind of do a little thing. So I haven't really figured out what I'm doing with this one. Mostly I'm going to say drive fast or get the hell out of the way.